I have to clip this. Okay. I'm not gonna get too much time talking about this, but what I'm gonna touch on is the strategic and humanistic aspects of AI. Um, and so, Microsoft and a lot of big techs, we love our buzzwords. The new buzzword in the house is frontier transformation. Has anyone heard about frontier? Yep, awesome, awesome. So our favorite term these days is frontier transformation. And we've been really driving that as an agenda in a lot of our presentations. We just recently had our AI tour a few weeks back, and our CEO, Satya Nadella, came and spoke specifically about frontier transformation. And what it really is, it's moving away from thinking about how do we plug AI in our existing systems, our existing organization. It's really moving from that thinking to how do you redesign an entire system so that you have embedded intelligence in all your workflows from the get-go. So that's a very different way of thinking from, hey, I've got this workflow, I've got this organization, this is the culture of the organization, how do I actually just plug in AI? It's an entire system change. It's a system shift. And so one way to look at it, it's really about where technology stops becoming a tool. It's not a tool anymore. It is all about how the system thinks. So technology, AI is basically part of how the system thinks as an organization. And that's when organizations stop becoming optimized for better outcomes, but actually evolve for better outcomes. So when we talk about frontier transformation, again, like I said, it's not about just adopting another AI tool, whether it's Claude, whether it's, all of that. I think what we've seen already is that we've gone through the waves of digital transformation. We've gone through the waves of AI focused on efficiency, on optimization, etc. What we want to do is that phase, even though it mattered, and it is very important, but it doesn't matter that much anymore about where to from here. What does the future look like? Optimizing what exists doesn't actually change what's possible. So in Australia and New Zealand as a region, I feel like we're very much still in the world of how do we optimize our current flows, whereas the thinking needs to shift completely. And then again, when you shift that thinking and really think about being a frontier organization, what you're unlocking is not just this part, efficiency, productivity. What you're unlocking is actually creativity. How many of you actually just want to use AI so that you can be more creative? How many people? Exactly that. So I don't wake up in the morning because I'm productive on M365 Copilot. I wake up in the morning because I'm using AI to do something really amazing and impactful for my community, because I'm using my creativity to do it. I'm using my identity and my own persona to get those outcomes. And so that's where it is. So the question now is, and if you ask yourself, is that where do you want AI to create new growth? Is it, if you're in an organization, is it your customer engagement? Is it your own workforce engagement? Is it employee experience? Is it in innovation cycles? So that's where do you actually want to go from here? So I definitely sit in the creativity box. I think that's magic when you can use tools like that to really unlock your own creativity. So when we look beyond models and chips, there's definitely a conversation and debate about scale, especially in New Zealand. Where we get stuck is lack of scale. You get this amazing idea, amazing concepts. We've got massive innovation hubs. Actually, Hamilton, where I live, I'm not biased towards Tron, but has a fantastic innovation hub. You've got these amazing minds, but where they get stuck is, well, we can't scale. How do we scale? And so it's not really about what is the best chip, what is the best silicon, what is the best way to actually scale. What it becomes is, what is the intelligence and where is the trust? That's how you scale. Intelligence and trust is the foundation of scale. So intelligence is your company, your data, your subject matter expertise, what makes your organization and what makes you unique. Without that, you can't scale. You absolutely can't scale. The subject matter experts, you cannot scale without that. And without trust, you actually can't adopt. So You can give anyone the tool. If they do not trust the tool to get them the outcomes that they want, you cannot actually adopt. So adoption and scale is the foundations of anything AI. And that's where we're focused quite a lot on. So we came up with, we thought long and hard after the wake of AI, generative AI, ChatGPT, our partnership with OpenAI, etc., all of that. And we said, well, a frontier transformation organization has to have a success framework with the foundations of intelligence and trust. On top of that, we want to build something that transforms the way you enrich employee experience, how you reinvent customer engagement, and how you reshape business processes. So I'll talk a little bit about that. So when we say enriching employee experiences, it's giving people AI that understands their work and removes friction for them. How many of you have used M365 Copilot? It doesn't work and you're even more frustrated than before. And when it works, it's like, oh my God, I cannot live without it. You know, I have a colleague, actually, she's been an industry advisor for quite many years. So she comes from a health background and she's based in Canada. And she was given Copilot in the very, very early days before it was even a thing. And she got so used to working with M365 Copilot, then left that role, went to another organization that didn't have M365 Copilot. She was having withdrawal symptoms, like legit. She talked to me about as if I need to go to rehab. You know, it was that. So it's quite interesting when you enrich employee experience like that. It's almost like they can't get off of it. So I don't know if it's a bad or a good thing, but yeah. Then reinventing customer engagement. So a lot of the times, customer engagement is very reactive, right? So how do we? Hello, come on in. Customer engagement can be quite reactive. How many of you are in the customer sort of experience sort of layer or industry where you have to deal with customers all the time? How much of it is reactive, would you say? 50, 60%, 40%? 100%. So you want to reinvent your customer engagement to proactive services, right? And so that's how you want to use AI, to make it from reactive to proactive. And when you talk about reshaping business process, I work in health, and Health New Zealand is my largest customer. The amount of fragmentation and silos that are in that sector is incredible. It's the largest employer in New Zealand, so it has the largest workforce, and thus the disparity of that environment is ridiculous. And so how do you actually reshape the business process where the end-to-end processes are intelligent? So referrals process or lab reports or things like that. You know, how do you reshape that entire business process altogether? It's not about AI, it's the intelligence in the process. Sorry, this is quite annoying. Second. Hang on. Oops, skip the slide. And then bending the curve on innovation, right? So how do you actually, and Satya Nadella, our CEO, talked a lot about bend the curve on innovation. So how do you accelerate turning ideas into reality? Where, again, I can only reference my industry. There's so many amazing ideas that come through health, direct outcomes that we know it's going to be proven outcomes, but how do you turn them into ideas? How do you turn them into actual tangible outcomes? Accelerate that, give people a platform for that, where they can safely just turn those ideas into amazing outcomes. So that's bending the curve on innovation. Now, I nicked the slide from a colleague. I loved her slide. She talks about myth, mess, and mindset. This is why we're stuck. It's this constant loop of myth, sorry. That shouldn't have happened. Anyways, myth, mess, and mindset. So myth, the belief that the next tool or the next chip or the next model will actually fix everything for you is a myth. It doesn't happen like that. Overestimating technology and also underestimating system change. That's, we do that a lot. We cannot overestimate technology and AI, and we cannot underestimate the system change that it requires to adopt such things. The mess is, again, fragmented systems, silos, duplicate effort, complexity that slows everything down. There's a lot of that. And then the mindset, so risk aversion, waiting for the perfect clarity, fear of getting it wrong. Who waits for everything to be perfect before you can start? In your organization, so we see a lot of that. 100% clarity and confidence before you can go. That it doesn't work like that. And then treating AI as an experiment instead of capability. So we see quite a lot around, we call it the proof of concept graveyard now. It's like you stand something up to strip it down in the next few months. That's not how you actually develop capability. So we're moving away from experimentation to this becoming an asset to your organization. And the reality is that these three reinforce each other. So the myth drives more tools drive fragmentation, and then more fragmentation sort of drives more mess, and then the mindset is, oh my God, this hasn't worked, so it'll never work again. So you've got to break that cycle of the 3 M's. Now, culture, highly overused term, I feel. You ask, everyone talks about it, but I feel like a very few can actually explain what it means in practice, right? You ask 10 different leaders, what is culture to you? You'll get 10 different answers, completely different answers. The problem isn't actually culture, it's the clarity behind what culture is in an organization. So when culture is vague, it can't be measured, it can't be changed, and it certainly can't be scaled. And so having clarity around what is the culture that you want to drive in your teams, in your organization, that is a really, really important question that leaders need to ask themselves. And it's not posters on a wall or words in a strategy deck. We see that a lot. If you want to understand culture, look at what's actually done. And in transformation, a lot of the times the default is, let's fix the culture first before we can actually start adopting these technology tools, etc. But it doesn't change through messaging. It changes through actual, what are the outcomes, what are the actions, and also what it looks like from a systems perspective. What are the incentives? What is it that you're giving to your people to actually get onto this journey? So I'm not going to talk about culture in theory. I do have a pretty good example about an organization that did this quite well. Has anyone heard about Bro Pilot? Been seeing stuff about Bro? Okay, it's gone crazy on LinkedIn. So we started this collaboration with Health NZ, Te which was part of Health NZ. There's a vertical called Haora Māori Services. It used to be called Te Aka Whaiora, which was the Māori Health Authority, which then got dissolved and absorbed into Health NZ. And for about a year, we were like, what can we actually do to provide services that are culturally grounded, that people could trust? Because a lot of the community there, they weren't just risk averse, they just absolutely hated AI. They're like, do not even talk about AI to us. This is ridiculous, How do you convert that mindset? So their end result of it, and I'll talk a little bit about what they did, but the end result of it is that they personalized it and adopted to the point where they actually started calling it Bro Pilot. They relabeled and rebranded it with. I got into trouble for this a little bit, but we got it through. But it was the actual essence of it was Bro Pilot, and it didn't start with technology. It started with people, identity, and context, right? So that's how they started it, not with AI. The foundation was psychological safety. That was the number one priority of adoption of AI, psychological safety for the community. And people needed to feel safe to explore and to fail safely. That's what they didn't want to be judged about it. How are they using it? If they'd use it in a bad way, okay, it's all right. Just keep experimenting. It's no problem. And it wasn't about training people on a tool. It was really about creating an environment where they felt like they could actually train safely. So cultural grounding made that possible. The approach in Maori values, it also created familiarity. What they did was, one of the outcomes was, I guess they started with, if people don't feel safe, they won't engage, right? So that's how they did. So they one of the things that they described of it is that, oh, this is what the impression was of AI, right? In the community, that this is just, don't go there, they're going to take our jobs, it's evil. To actually, they built a bit of an agent that spoke to them in their language, in their mindset, in their context of psychological safety. And they had many different personas of that agent. So some people called it Coco, someone called it Smart Maori, someone called it, I don't know, Nanny Polly. It was amazing to see different personas and the way they kind of implemented that. So that kind of started getting a lot of traction, a lot of adoption. And then they actually codified the tikanga policy into a system. So the best practice that was built on Dame Naida Glavish's guidance of the tikanga policy, that they developed that into 16 different operating procedures, which is fantastic to see. And they actually found an error in there that they hadn't, it's hundreds of years of old, but they found an error in there through AI. They're like, oh my God, we've been, what the hell, So, but the end result of that was that they actually, the beauty of it was that something that was such old intelligence was finally brought to life, which was amazing to see. So that was one of the outputs. And then again, M365 Copilot, helping them with CVs, helping them with a whole lot of productivity side of it, but in their cultural grounding and context. So what they did was to really send the message out. They built they put together a video of relating to people, making it fun, and giving out the message of what AI actually is. And when you do it, you just have to do it in your own way. You don't have to fit into a sort of box. I would like you guys to get up for this video, if you can. It's actually quite fun. Here you go. You can dance. When you start your AI journey, you do you boo. That's Coco. And so that was the outcome of it. So this is basically translated into psychological safety, right? This is how they did it. And gosh, when this went on LinkedIn, everyone's just gone crazy. And so Troy Baker, who was behind this initiative at Health and Zed, he's gotten so many calls. He's an overnight celebrity. And I was like, dude, you don't have time for me anymore. So I think this is, I feel like a exemplar example of how they made adoption real and how it actually benefited the community. So I'll stop talking. I've said enough. And this is sort of the end of my presentation.